In this tutorial, we are going to manually remediate the document by placing tags, as opposed to using the auto tag feature to automatically tag the entire document. To do this, I've re-downloaded an unremediated copy of the basic PDF remediation document, so we can start from scratch. And you may be wondering, we already fixed this in a previous tutorial with the auto tag, basically. Why would we want to do another round on it? Well, the answer to that is a lot of times you're going to run into documents that require you to do some manipulation in the tags, either change one type of tag to another type of tag, tag content using the selection tool that hasn't been selected correctly or at all by the auto tag or something else like that. You're going to want to know how to manipulate tags. And so this is going to be a good tutorial for creating and manipulating tags on your own. So if I open my All Tools menu here, you'll see that I've got all my tools here. If I want to run another accessibility check, prepare for accessibility check, and we will see that, of course, it has all the same problems as it had before. And to manually apply tags to the document, we're going to want to use the reading order tab over here. This is how we're going to select our content. Over on the accessibility checker pane here in our right tools, I'm going to check the tags view, no tags available. We're about to change that. I'm going to switch to that so we can view the call out boxes as we go. And so the first thing we have up here is the Wichita State University letterhead. So I have a line that'll drag across it. You can't see it right now because it's white, but it will drag across. It is already decided that is basically part of the page that's invisible, and that's fine. We don't need that. I'm going to highlight basic PDF remediation, like so. You want to be a bit generous when you do the drag and drop. Effectively, what I'm doing is I'm moving that crosshair a little bit outside of the field where that heading occurs. Left click, hold the left click, and just drag it across. It's okay to be generous with it, because sometimes if you're not, it can miss it. It's pretty touchy like that. I've selected basic PDF remediation, and you'll see all the buttons in the reading order pop up here have all lit up as active. These are a selection of tags that you can assign from this menu. This is going to be a heading 1. So we're going to select heading 1 here. And you will see now we have a tags menu and we have a heading 1 tag, basic PDF remediation. And as we add tags throughout the document as we go, it's going to add them like that, just to this menu here. Next is our paragraph, although PDF's going through to in no time. And I'm going to do the same thing. You'll see that now the line is visible. Select all that text. And some people would grab a bunch of text and make it all paragraph. I recommend that you go through paragraph by paragraph. It just makes it easier to work with. This is a text paragraph right here, so we're going to do that. There's our paragraph. We can see a preview of the text inside of it. Tags is a heading 2, so I'm going to select it and set it to heading 2. The tags are used is also paragraph, so we're going to select that out. So it grabbed a space there, and I don't necessarily want that space. I was probably a little too generous there, so I'm going to redo it and see if I can catch it without that space. There we go. Text paragraph. We come to the commonly used tags heading, and we come to the list. So first thing I'm going to do is grab commonly used tags. And yes, sometimes you have to do things more than one time in order to grab them. There we go. That is a heading 2. Now we're ready to begin building our list. So if you remember from the list earlier, we had the list tag, and inset in the list tag was a list item tag. In there was label, and label contained the number, and list body item, and that would be the word of the list item. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to want to catch each of these little elements separately. And I'm going to highlight one like so. And if you look in the tags, you'll notice it doesn't have any section or any button for a list item or a label or anything like that. That means we're going to have to reassign them later. For now, we're just going to make them text paragraph. Okay, and it's going to add them. And I'm just going to go through and do this to all 6 of our items here. Now note that while we have a separate tag here for the word paragraph, it doesn't have it actually numbered. That's because it's considering it sequential, so it doesn't think it needs to, and that's fine. And grab the 2. Grab the word list. Being pretty picky about that word. There we go. Make sure that it's right. Yep, it is. Sometimes you want to double check things. And the 3. And it's more than likely just going to keep continually adding the tags and adding them to the 6 sequentially. That's fine. Grab list item. Number 4. Right now, we're just making sure to assign tags to these items. Once these items are tagged, we can work with them to make them something else, but they have to be tagged first. Okay. The word image. The number 6. And the label background artifact. Okay, so we have all the items that's going to make up our list tagged. If I select paragraph and I select down through, you can see that they're all in there and they're okay. So now we're going to build our list out of it. I'm going to select the H2. We need to insert a list tag. We insert a new tag into our tags by right-clicking on the one above it. So the H2 is going to be above the list tag. Right-click, new tag. It comes up with a selection menu, and I'm going to select list. So now we have a list tag, okay? Now after that, things fit in list item tags, okay? And we want to see how many list items we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need 6 list tags. And what I'm going to do is right-click, new tag, and I'm going to select list item. And I'm going to do this 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now, as we saw in the previous example, list items should be subset into the list tag. These are not. They're parallel down the line. We need to move them in. So what we do is we want to do what's called paste as child. So I'm going to select all of these list items. I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to move to the last one, and I'm going to hold the shift button and left click. That will select all the options in that row. Then I'm going to right click and do cut. I'm going to select list, right click, paste child. And as you can see, it pasted all of those list items inset in the list. That's exactly what we want. So we're going to work forward from here. So the first one is the number 1, and it's followed by paragraph. That's our first list item, right? And I'm going to just click the paragraph tag, and we need to change this to a label. I'm going to right click, properties, and under paragraph, right here, I can change the designation of the tag type. So I'm going to open it and select label. And you will see that that tag has changed. I don't have to close this box to continue. I can just go down the row like this. select the paragraph tag that corresponds to the word. I'm going to change that to list item body. And I'm just going to go down, label, list item body, label, list item body, label again, list item body again. And we're going to continue this pattern through all of them. Okay, now they're ready to be subset into the correct list item row. So using my shift click trick, I'm going to select the first label, the first L body, which you see corresponds to the first line. Right click, cut. I'm going to select the first list item that's supposed to correspond with that row of the list. Right click, paste child, so that it insets inside of it. So as we can see, we have our list and we have our first list item. You can see it highlight over here. I'm going to do the same with the next one, label and list body. Right click, cut, select the second list item, right click, paste child. Now, if I click my list at the top, look what happens. It's highlighting the first two rows because we've populated the first two rows of the list. I'm going to continue down, label and list body, cut, go to the third, paste child, close it up, select the next one, right click, cut, go to the fourth one, right click, paste child. That's our fourth, our fifth, cut, paste child, close it up, and our sixth. I click, cut, select the list item, right click, paste child, close it up. So if I click the list now, you can see that all those items are in the list. If I key down with the down arrow, you'll see each one of these is separate, just like it was in the previous one that we fixed. We can close that tag up, and now it's just a list tag in the middle of the document. Our next item here is reviewing PDF tags. It has the image associated with it. The image is not tagged either. I'm going to select reviewing PDF tags, and I'm going to set it to a heading 2. And you might notice here that it's done something a bit odd. It's not actually visible here. So where did it go? Sometimes when you reset things as tags, the tags will appear in strange places that you don't expect. The easiest answer to usually find them is to select a tag somewhere in it and cycle down through with the arrow key, watching for your item to highlight. In this case, we can see that for some reason it's decided to incorporate that heading 2 in this list. We don't want it there. So I'm going to open that and I'm going to go through and find it. It looks like for some reason it inserted it in the 6th line. It sure did. There it is. I'm going to select the H2, right click, cut. And now I'm going to close that list item and close the list entirely. Select the list. If it's not selected, right click, paste, not paste child, just paste. That way it won't inset inside the list again. There we go. Okay. So now it's on its own as it should be. I'm going to save the document. Remember to save frequently and save often. And the next bit we have here some paragraph text. I'm going to select it. Text paragraph. And that one it didn't inset, so that's fine. Next up is our image. And I'm going to select that image. And I got some options here. In the previous example, I showed you how to alt text an image. I could totally do this and tag it as a figure. A figure is an image, right? Like that. I was talking about rendering things invisible to screen reader. If it's a decorative image, if it has no other element in there. If this paragraph is contextually giving all the information and we don't need the image, we can make it background artifact. So I could select this. And you can usually do it on the tag as well. Like right over here. If I open it, if I right click, you'll see change tag to artifact. I like to do it on the tags more than I like to do the button to do it. But either way will usually work. I'm going to change this tag to artifact to make it invisible to screen readers. It's going to give me sort of a readout, ask me for some details. Normally, you just need to hit OK. And it's invisible. It is important when you're doing this to tag things, even if you intend them to be invisible, because if you don't and you run an accessibility check on it, it's actually going to think it's untagged content, and it's going to flag an accessibility error for it. So you want to be sure to tag it and make it background artifact. The figure tag here we don't need. I'll right click and delete it so we don't have an empty tag there. That's our first page of content. So I want to do a section tag. I'll click under tags, right click, new tag, and we're going to choose section. And typically it'll take a section tag and drop it below like that. That's okay. I'm going to select H1, the top, and go down to the paragraph that ends it. Shift left click like we did to select everything, right click, cut, select the section tag, right click, paste child. Like that. And now you can see we're sort of rebuilding that structure. To add the second section for the next one, if you have one of these open like this, you don't want to add the new tag for the section at the end here, because it's actually going to result in it being included in the content for this section tag. You want your other section tag to be parallel with this one. So what I'm going to do is close this, right click, new tag, section. And then when I expand this, see how it exists outside of it as its own thing? That's what we want. So we're going to start from here, and we're going to go to the second page. We've got the table versus lists heading here. I'm going to select that, make it a heading 2. And once again, we can't see what it's done with it, so we got to find it. And looks like it tucked it into the tags for the first page. That's fine. There it is. H2. I'm going to right click, cut, select the section tag, right click, paste child. It may require us to do that throughout tagging the table when we get there. We'll just have to see. Now we're ready to build our table. So first thing we need, as we saw in the other one, is a table tag. So I'm going to left click on the heading 2, right click, new tag, and out of the menu, I'm going to select table. There we go. And tables have rows. We need to have a table row tag for each row of the table. This table has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Starts with a heading row that's 1, 2, 3, and 4 are regular. So I'm going to select the table, right click, new tag, and I'm going to add 4 tags for table row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we've got our 4 table rows. I'm going to use my shift click to select all those table row cells or table row tags, right click, cut, select table, right click, paste child. So now all of those rows are inset in there and they're ready for content. Now, like I did with the list, I'm going to select all of the items in here. There is not an option. Well, there is a cell option, but it doesn't have a table head option. So I'm going to select each piece of content here, like so. And I'm going to make it text paragraph. Now, sometimes you can highlight a table using the table button. If you highlighted a table, hit table, it may automatically understand the table and structure it on its own, but a lot of times it doesn't. So it's give or take a little bit with that. So I'm actually going to manually build this table. That, and it's better practice for you to manually build the table rather than to do that. Text paragraph there. Note there it tried to include a line that I didn't want. That's why I reset that again. And you can see, as we go down, we're building these and that they're paragraph tags. And select the content here. And apparently I wasn't high enough for it, so we'll try it again. There we go. That one. Okay. And you can see it's just adding those tags as I work my way down. And now the last one. Okay, so we've got all of our content that goes in there tagged. So now we need to build our table rows. The first two pieces of content here, tables and lists, are the heading cells. They're already in the right order, so we don't really have to worry about that. If we look at the reading order, we can see it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That is how a table should be read by the screen reader by default. So the reading order is fine. We just have to set it up as the rows. And you can set up multiple tags and change them at the same time. These first two we want, I'm going to select them both for table and list. I'm going to right click properties. And on the type, I'm going to select table header cell right here. So this is the heading row. I'm going to leave this open and reset all the ones underneath. Select the first P tag here, use shift clicks to select the rest, and come over here and set these to table data cell. Now I'm going to select the first two using my shift click, and I'm going to reopen my table. It closed it. Sometimes it will automatically close tags on you, and that can be a little bit frustrating, but usually you can just reopen them. I'm going to select those two table header cells, right click, cut, select the TR for the first row, right click, paste child. And that is our first table row, the heading row. I'm going to select the next two, which is the second row, right click, cut, and note these are table data cells. Select the TR tag for the second row, right click, paste child. We now have two rows. If I close this up, you'll be able to see that the table is slowly getting populated with the content it needs. I'm going to select the next two TD cells, right click, cut, select the third row, right click, paste child. There's our row 3. And the last two table datas, I'm going to right click, cut, and do the same thing, paste as child. File save, since we're working on a table. And it's all built out in our second section tag. We don't have to go any further than that. Okay. So you'll see that we have an indicator now that's popped up that shows a table with an X through it. That's how the system notes where a table is. So our tag should be good. Now we want to look at the actual reading order as before and make sure that the reading order is what we want it to be. I'm going to click on the Z for reading order. Click on the first item and we're going to go through. And it's going to highlight each of these as we move through. I'm going to use the down arrow to move through the document. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And remember, we made that image background artifact, so it's not going to highlight. Sometimes, though, when you do that, when you artifact something, it will appear in the reading order or in the content pane. Sometimes even the representation of the tag doesn't disappear. That doesn't mean that it still exists, so to speak. Usually it'll have a notation saying artifact. I'll move down to page 2, 1 and 2. Our reading order is fine. So I'm going to go back over to my accessibility tools. And first thing I'm going to do is save it. Well, I already did, so I haven't changed anything, so it doesn't need to save again. I'm going to run the accessibility check again. And we have an alt text error. Let's see what that is. If you click on the item, it will normally pop up and tell you what it is. And it looks like it wants alt text on these images, but these images aren't tagged. So we need to tag them. So I'm going to use my reading order tool. Come back over here. I'm going to select that image, and now it'll let me highlight it. I'm going to make that a figure. And you see no alt text exists. I'm going to click the number, right click, edit alternate text. In this case, a lot of times people will put their department letterheads on them. If this was a department, I would definitely do this. As it stands right now, I'm going to alt text this as Wichita State University letterhead logo. Yeah, I may need it for the second one, so I'm going to highlight the text and copy it. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the first one, and I'm going to do the same thing. We've got it. Figure, select it, right click, edit alternate text, university logo, letterhead. Now we've got that occurring on 2 pages, which means it's going to read this to them, and then it's going to go on there. Maybe we don't want 2 of them. Okay, maybe we just want the one. That's fine. What we can do is select the second one, and we're going to go over to tags view and see where they occur in the structure. And you'll see that it's added tags in the figure and that they place in the right place in the reading order. Sometimes things don't, and you have to move them around, and that's fine. We'll get into moving things in different order when we get into the forms. And the second one here is right here. Maybe we don't want that second one. So I'm going to open the second page's section tag. There's the image, right click, change tag to artifact. It's gone. We have an empty tag for it. I'm going to delete it. So the only letterhead it's going to read is this one up here. That one's gone now. Okay. So I'm going to close. And I'm going to do an accessibility check. And we're getting some tag content errors here. So what these tag content errors are, is they're actually spaces. Sometimes spaces in these documents, particularly if it comes out of, say, Word, will not auto tag. And so you have to go through and manually deal with them. So if you have errors like this, like with spaces, what you want to do is just select, open your reading order. And you can use this as a guide to find it. So element 1 is right there. I'm going to tag it, and you can see it's a space. I'm going to click background artifact. It'll show it as a tag, but don't worry about that. It's background artifact. It's not going to pop back up on you. The second one exists right here. Background artifact. Space here. Same thing. Why is it doing this for empty space? Because they enter down when they create the document in order to have the page breaks, or it's set to double spacing as the setting. And so it generates a space in those places. They probably just enter a line and then enter down another line, which leaves that empty space on the one. Technically, a space is content. So it's going to say that that's empty content that needs to have something done with it. And that's fine. I'm going to highlight here, background artifact. And I'm just going to go through and do this to all these spaces. This one has a strange little space that's occurring in the background. And we don't particularly want to ruin the work we've already done there. So let's see if there's a way we can get around that. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest here. And then we'll come back and see if we can have a solution for that. Mine's here. It's up here. And it looks like it has a piece of content right here. There it is. Doesn't touch the letter. It's its own thing. We have one right here. And 14 here. Okay, so I'm going to close this real quick and do a new check. Actually, let's just leave it open. See if any of those remain. This one remains, and I'm betting that it's a space that exists between the period here and the L. So it shouldn't cause us any major problems. I'm going to highlight very carefully to get that space right between. And see if we can pick that off. There it is. Okay. Background artifact. Okay. Now it looks like it might have done something odd with the tags there when we did that. That's fine. We're going to do another check. So let's go over to tags real quick and open the page one tags. We've got our figure and our heading one, and see how it's not even stopping for those spaces that we made invisible. It's just going down to the content. That's how we know that the background artifact worked, even if it does show it in the tag structure, so to speak. I'm going to go down heading 2, and there's our list, heading 3. And because it looks like it split this into 2 separate tab sets, I'm going to go ahead and look in it just to make sure everything is as it should be. Our first list row is right. Our second one is. Our third one, where our issue was actually occurring, is just fine. Fourth one is fine. 5 is fine. And 6 is fine. So we know our list is good. Sometimes when you work on things like that, it may end up taking tags inside a list or a table and throwing them outside somewhere, and then you just rebuild it as it was. It's just a thing that happens. I'm going to close that up. And that was really our big one for that. I'm going to go back to the accessibility check. Start. It wants a tab order fixed. Let's see, page content. Tab order. Tab order sets the order at which it's going to proceed through the document if a user uses their tab key to move through it. A lot of times it's done automatically, but in this case, since we started from nothing basically and tagged it, it doesn't have one. We're going to right click and we're going to click fix. Tab order set to match structure order in all pages successfully. Normally it will automatically do it like you saw it do there. So that's fine. And now it shows document issues up here. Tag PDF failed. It is a tag PDF, so I'm betting that that's some other issue. Let's close that back up and do another check. Okay. Fix that because it's tagged. It didn't know that it was tagged or not, but as we know, it is. So no big deal there. Next accessibility order error to look at here is primary language. We need to set the primary language. Title and primary language occur on most every PDF that's done. I'm going to right click on primary language and click fix, and it will give me a drop-down menu of options. Basically, this is telling it what language that the document is presented in so that the screen reader can read it properly. I'm going to click English. That's right. I'm going to click OK. Fixed. Title. The document title is a piece of text that shows in a browser tab, either a web browser tab or in Acrobat's tab, letting the user know what the document title is. And they all need it. So I'm going to right click on this and we'll do fix. Now note that it automatically fixed it. The problem here is sometimes it will fix it, but it will not give it the correct text, particularly if it's a document that was sourced from another template. It could cause all kinds of problems. So what we're going to do here is I want to make sure that the title is what I want it to be. So I'm going to click File at the top and Document Properties. And it says Microsoft Word Basic PDF Sample. Okay. That's kind of what it was initially, but it's become this document here. So what I'm going to do is change the title to Basic PDF Remediation to match the document title. Click OK. That's fixed. Logical reading order. We looked at the reading order, but let's have another look just in case. And you'll see that those ones that are invisible, they don't have any content in them. So that's fine. Our reading order is still fine. So I'm going to run the check again. Logical reading order, pass. And color contrast isn't an issue because it's black text on white. So I will go ahead and pass that. Close the checker. Just to be sure, I'll do another check on it. No problems. And so that's how you would go and manually tag a document. And in the midst of that, you had other things you learned. You learned how to change tags from one kind of tag to another, and you learned how to inset tags into the proper fields. And we're making good progress. So you would save this. And in this case, so it can be used later, I'm going to go ahead and call it Remediated 2. And we're good to put this on the web. Our next tutorial video, we're going to look at doing very simple forms, how to set them up, how to format them to the easiest method of remediation, how to do form fields, how to add tooltips to form fields, and we'll see you then.